Another day, another dollar. No one here's getting paid. I do it for free because I love you. Welcome to the weekly wave, everybody. It's a good day to be alive. It's a hard day to own a Chevy Suburban because my transmission's dead, but I'm flying out the state tomorrow. So the good news is I don't need my car this week, and things are going okay. So, my friends, thanks for hopping on. This is going to be episode 86, I believe. My guest is Mr. David Parks. He's a phenomenal drummer, songwriter, session player, touring musician, and a kick-ass dude. So without further ado, my drinking buddy, David Parks.
And they're out of Elkhart, Indiana.
Who is this?
Ludwig.
No way.
Yeah. And so they're owned by them, but the factory is in Monroe, North Carolina.
Okay.
And their whole way of thinking about it all was that's where a lot of furniture workers are. A lot of people that work in wood.
Yeah.
And people are going to have knowledge of woods and how to mold them and shape them and everything else. So they're like, well, there's our experts. Let's go there.
Yeah.
So
what a crazy, and you're also trying to find people that are going to be professionals in this field who aren't going to charge you the way that, there's guys that work in the Fender custom shop that make the prettiest shit ever, that they have to be the best builders. But you also need people that are just starting their career, so they have some hands-on woodworking experience, and they can kind of rev it up with that. That's pretty sick. You step into a workforce like that.
yeah, I've taken a tour of the Ludwig factory, and everybody there has a knowledge of, it's not just, they're not working there because, Radio Shack wasn't hiring that day. You know what I'm saying? They're there because they have a specialty on what they're doing. So,
well, let me kick this off. David motherfucking Parks, everybody. What's kicking for
I have a middle name now.
Dude, I've always thought
I've always wanted one. I've always wanted that.
We also have a middle and a Christian. Motherfucking. I mean, we have to
That's
separate
right.
these two. And the fact that your Christian name would then be, okay, never mind. We're going to move on. What is your real middle name?
Glenn.
Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do you have something on your kick drum all the time. Do you have an insignia that is your...
Oh, my shield.
Your shield's just the DP, right?
Yeah, it's like the Ludwig Keystone, because I'm a Ludwig endorser, but also I'm a Ludwig enthusiast, as we were just talking about. So I hate to use this word, but back in the day,
date yourself. Tell them.
No, it's not me. It's Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich, and they all used to have the racing stripes down, on, if this was the drum head, this side would be two racing stripes, and they'd put their shield on there, and that was just their thing.
Yeah.
And you would either put GK for Gene Krupa or BR for Buddy Rich, or if you were working for whatever orchestra, you'd put their initials in there with the name on the side or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a cool throwback, and I did that for a while on some of mine. You'll see racing stripes when you come over sometime. You'll see my drum heads on the wall, and I just like that. It was classy. Mm-hmm. I liked how classy it looked. And
what's so different about that era and having drummers as band leaders? Why do you have this era of...
They knew what was up.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, come on.
In a very different way, though.
If you take music theory, which I tried in my high school, but it kept on getting canceled because the same three people, me and 2 or 3 other students would show up every year, and that didn't suffice enough to keep the class moving.
Yeah.
So, but if you take theory, bass is for timing, drums are for color, and but if everybody goes, oh, it's a timing thing today. Well, it is, but it's also a color, and it could be a lead instrument at some point, but it's not a melodic instrument. Terry Bozzio, no, it's not. Sorry.
But if you have a team willing to bring out that many toms, that you can have all the modes in front of you,
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And how many kids come from your world as a percussionist, but they're told okay, then you play marimba or whatever is going to be your melodic interpretation of that in an academic sense.
Oh yeah, I mean we played marimba, we played timpani, we did play tonal instruments then, but I always hear voices when I hear, not those kind of voices, but I hear when I'm coming up with a drum part. I've got a few drummers who ask me all the time, hey, how do you do what you do? Can you tell me what the blah, 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 blah. And every time I give the answer, they don't want to hear it. Oh, man, I ain't trying to hear that. I ain't trying. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. Oh, no. But, hey, man, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, well, I'm showing you where the water is. You're telling me you're thirsty.
Yeah.
You got to go through this briar patch right here to get to it.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go through the briar patch. And when I hear those tones and the things when I'm coming up with a drum part, I play more simple.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happier with the 4-piece kit. My kit right now on tour is a 4-piece. It's a kick, rack, floor, snare, 2 crashes, a crash ride, and a pair of hi-hats, and a timbali.
Mm.
Pardon me. That's getting to me. And the only reason the timbali is there is because the artist asked for it.
Yeah.
And I still like whenever I would teach, or whenever I do teach now, I tell all my drum students, you need to stop playing drums. And they're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like they're looking at me like I just stabbed them in the heart. And I said, no, you need to stop playing drums and start playing the song. Because too many people, like, I went to a local jam recently, and it was, I'm not going to say which one it was, but it was just, it wasn't very many people there. And
you can tell us what night of the week it's on, and we can make assumptions based on
what, Monday?
Okay, word.
So, I think it was Monday. I don't even know what today is. Yeah, so everybody up there, and they're having a good time, don't get me wrong, but nobody's playing together. And it's a jam. It is what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. But nobody's playing together. Everybody's soloing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. And I can't handle that. That's not my thing, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but if it's those guys who are asking me, how do we do what you do? And I'm like, well, don't do that.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to point out when it's like, case in point, you didn't listen to the advice there. One thing I was just watching you play for a couple seconds here, and it's very different to play with someone than it is to watch someone, and also watch someone, without accompaniment, without a band, getting to be the orchestra that a drum kit can be, unlike any other instrument. It's the way that someone lets off of something that allows it space to breathe and to interact with what's coming next, rather than immediately filling the void. Like the way that a cymbal is going to carry into the next part of this section. The way that you can have ambience in this unoccupied space of the mix in such an elegant way. It's something that's so specific to drums.
It goes way past just hitting shit. And it goes way past on how much can I do?
Yeah.
It's like not about that. It's, if you notice when I was sitting out playing, I was just testing out the kit. I wasn't trying to play. I was just like,
totally.
I'm curious about what these cymbals sound like and the response and the tuning of the floor. I wanted to hit the floor tom. I'm like, it looks like it's going to go boom.
Yeah.
And, you notice I just played grooves. I'm happier just playing grooves. I'm not a solo guy. I've done solos, but that's because it's written into a set and everybody else has to, take a breather or change out guitars, or it's in a set list. And I hate doing it. And when I do solos, I usually do crowd participation things because, look, I'm a big Alex Van Halen fan. I'm a big, Stuart Copeland fan. Whoever, I don't want to see them solo. I'm gonna go get a beer too. You know what I'm saying? Or go pee or something.
Yeah.
So it's got to be entertaining. You got to have the entertainment value in it. People forget we are in the entertainment business, not the look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Well, I think, but if you can take the ride too, there's some guys like Alex, or like, I think like the first time as a kid I heard Moby Dick, and like I'd never heard a drum solo in that kind of expansiveness ever in my life. And if you give it the opportunity to say, I'm going to try to participate in this, I'm going to try to understand this through the end, then you really get a full experience, it's a musical journey you get to go on. But there's a lot of guys that, in all parts they're playing, on all instruments, in all walks of life, try to entertain themselves rather than entertain the song, like the mutual muse.
Yeah, somebody like Alex, of course, Bonzo, and whoever else, I mean, I'm a little bit jaded at this point, though.
Yeah.
So, but they do compositions, and they have a track line of a beginning, middle, and end. I'm just not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can do it, but I'm bored within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's because I would rather play an Eagles song. I'd rather play Wasted Time
Mm-hmm.
than do a solo, because I like music, not just drumming. Does that make, like,
Yeah.
my biggest influences as a drummer are guitar players and singers.
Yeah.
Like not drummers. I got Paul Daggy when I toured with the Vandells. He taught me more about music and drumming than anybody that was a drummer ever taught me.
Mm.
He taught me pocket. He told me groove. It's correlation between my hands and my feet, but also with that bass player or with that piano player or with that singer, learning everybody's fluctuations on how they approach things, their timing. I know he's going to rush on the second bar. I either got to hold him back or go with him, and it's not always a verbal conversation,
Yeah, that kind of anticipation though in a tight band, like there's so much understanding. I was talking to someone the other day about like, I'm sure many times in your career you've been asked to play with a click and to play without a click, and we all have feelings about that as far as how much you can stand it, or if you prefer it almost. But one of the odd things about the click is it quantifies something that we've all agreed to. Like this is the quarter. So to say, I know he's going to push here, but we still have this agreed upon thing. So now we can push together or we can slack together. And the way that you can now see the grid, it makes that kind of a thing really mind blowing for me as a songwriter with less focus on the arrangement, more focus on the song. It's hard to get to that level of understanding that the band is behind you. But then when you start to say, bar two, like we're going to do this, the first time you hit it together and there's this musical agreement without words to do something, it's the sweetest, sexiest feeling in the world.
Yeah. And for me, to go back on the click, is you want to see me not in a good mood is when we're going on stage without a click.
Really?
Yeah, even if I, especially the way it is now, because, one day we'll be in an arena, one day we'll be in a theater, and one day we'll be in a casino.
Mm-hmm.
And what the click does is it keeps, my bass player could be 4 miles away from me, or he could be, let me move my floor tom so you can stand next to me.
Yeah.
So, it's what a buddy of mine and I used to say, it's the argument settler. You could feel it as much as you want.
Yeah.
That it's slow, but it wasn't, because look, it's right here.
Yeah. It was.
We live in the future. It's right here.
Yeah.
We can't argue with that. What was it? You remember? A guy named Vern Gosden. It was
I do not.
one of his old bass players had said in an interview, which is to me, this is like the epitome of anytime somebody starts arguing about tempo, I just give them that interview.
Yeah. This guy's got references. He's got footnotes.
No, I'm
to
just
his
like,
arguments.
look, check this out. This is our barometer, because when you're on tour, you're tired, or you're excited about a show, or you had too many Red Bulls, or not enough Red Bulls, or too many beers, or not enough beers. Yeah. You're everything. You got in an argument with your old lady from home, and now you're in a bad mood, so everything's fast or slow. You got all that stuff going on, and something's going to fluctuate or feel different. And I've been on tours with we're locked into a video screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing every night. Somebody goes, "Hey man, speed up." I'm like, "What? No, I can't." Like
Pushes 2 BPM.
And so the interview with I think it was, I can't remember his name. He was a bass player, but he said Vern was really hard on drummers, as a lot of artists are, to the point to where he just got rid of all drummers and he just carried around a drum machine. And it's getting really bad. Every drummer they had for like a week or two, and then they'd fire him or whatever. I don't know the exact numbers, but they were going through a lot of drummers. Come to the conclusion that this drum machine is just going to be, okay, that won't move. And he said one night, Vern turned to him during the solo and said, "I don't care what you say, that drum machine is speeding up." And the bass player thought to himself, "I got to get the fuck out of here." So That you were referencing my shield earlier on, and for various reasons, for various artists that I've played with, I'll put like a little banner around it. I kind of got this from Alex Van Halen, in an indirect way, and it's a long story, but I'll put like a little phrasing in there for that artist, or for, like something like a little zing to them.
Yeah.
And one of them with one artist, I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but it said, "Follow me, for I am your leader. The tempo is what I say it is." It started out with, because I play a 26, is the closer, the bigger the kick drum, the closer to God. And then for each artist, I started changing it. Like, and it's a message to them, but not,
A 26-inch kick is one of the more disturbing things you've said today, but like I'm just going to let that slide by, and we're going to come back to that. So when you're running a click, how do you like this rig to look? Is this something that's programmed on a laptop and you tick, tap, tick, or do you sit there with like a metronome and plug and run?
Well, it depends on what artist, what tour I'm on. Some of them have.
What do you like then?
What I prefer, I don't like playing the tracks, just because I don't. A lot of people confuse a click track with running tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see me with a laptop or see all that, there's a track going on somewhere, a background vocal,
ambient bass, or lead
or
pads,
like something. Those things I don't mind.
Yeah.
But when you're so toned into that, you have no room for this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was out with Casey James, he would not allow. He's like, no tracks. He didn't even like anything that wasn't natural on his records. Mm-hmm. He didn't want anything quantized. He didn't want anything. He wants it to be, let's be men and be a band and play together like humans. And there were times he didn't even want me to have a click track on stage. But in that situation, I home run a click to where he doesn't want it, the bass player doesn't want it, Lord knows the keyboard player and the horn section don't want it.
Yeah.
Or use it. And hey, so so I would just use floor wedges and home run it to my ears, which confuses the hell out of the monitor engineer, because they see ears and they're like, "Where's this? I don't know.
Exactly.
Where's this thing?" And I'm like,
"What's you got in there?"
I always have to go, "Don't worry about this. Just worry about my floor wedge." Other tours I've had where the management or somebody they insist on backing vocals or this and that, or the show is set on a timeline, so I have to hit a space bar, and it, song 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, and then.
So when you home run it just for you, and it's your internal rig, what are you using exactly?
Tama Rhythm Watch.
Cool. That's just
so
a hand
easy.
dial that you like to.
Yeah. The memory always doesn't work. You can't always rely on it. So, because every time I do, you switch it from song 1 to song 2, and it goes back to 120 for some reason.
Yeah.
And I've found out with most models or whatever, I just can't rely on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you come see me right now, like with the tour I'm on this weekend, everybody else in the band wants it except the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sent, a cable comes out and is sent through a channel in the snake, just like it's a floor tom or guitar.
Cool, like an RCA to 1/8 inch goes in, and then this guy just doesn't put it in his ears.
It goes to direct a DI.
Nice.
And the DI just goes straight to the not front house, of course not.
To the splitter rack or whatever they use.
Monitors, and then everybody can adjust how loud they want to click.
Nice.
But it's always going, and then like once I know we're at the end of the song, we've got approximately 8 measures left.
Yeah.
I usually dump it.
Yeah.
Which I just hit it with my finger.
And start.
And then I look at the next tempo. If we're going from 109 to 114, I'll go dial 114, and it's ready.
Yeah.
So then I could go click, 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 and then it's out.
I feel like that's definitely like, not only is it more comfortable that you're in control and kind of reading that, but if you wanted to make a change, you can make a change. Like you could roll from 116 to 114, because we all know like we're starting to drag a little bit, and at least if we do it together, it's sexy.
Well, I am in control, but I'm not. I'm driving the bus, but I'm not in control.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
hey, driver, slow down.
Yeah,
Okay, or speed up. It's like I'm not. Even though I feel it,
Mhm.
a certain way. I have one of my buddies who, I'm not gonna say names. I was at sound check with him one day, and they were up doing a song, and I was on his kit looking at the drum heads, and he goes, "Hey man, you know this song, right? You play." And I said, "Okay." So I did a sound check with him, and I went, "This is at 101." I'm like, "I thought on the record it's at 99." He goes, "They don't know. They don't know." And so a lot of the guys don't know, but like, all right, so Casey James,
Yeah.
if I went from 76 to 77, he would turn around and go,
What's up?
That's ahead. That you're faster.
Yeah.
He's got it. He's got the internal clock.
Mhm.
He knows that. Some artists won't. They'll just like, that felt weird. I don't know what was weird, but it felt weird.
Mhm.
And I guess that's what we're trying to get around to is, to make it. It's not about sounding good. It's about feeling. Once it feels good, then it's gonna sound good.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when food comes on your plate from the waiter, if it looks like a big pile of glop, it doesn't matter how good it tastes.
Yeah.
It looks horrible. It's not appetizing. So, same thing back to this is making it feel good.
Mhm.
And once it feels good, then it'll sound good. But everybody's going to have that different clock. I got an artist that I worked for that this person sped up all the time. Like, I'll tell you after, but
Yeah.
who it is. But oh my gosh, like, to where it felt like the groove was gone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up, and it's like it makes it. I don't know. Everybody feels things differently,
For sure.
but as the older I've gotten, I feel like everything's. I like to relax everything.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to note that one, people are doing it, and they're doing it in a way that's not intrusive on their sets, enhancing their set. So there's a way that everyone can learn from this, even if you just rehearse with a click. And I think talking about those times in a very sincere and dialed-in way, like when are you going to argue about 96 and 98? When you pull it up and you listen to it and you play along, and like those days before you leave.
Yeah, I mean,
and you finalize things.
I don't know why it's so uncomfortable for some drummers to talk about tempo, because that is your freaking job.
But
it's
as
like,
you're saying,
I don't like to play with click and play. No, it's that you can't.
Yeah.
I'll say that. If you don't like playing with a click, it's because you can't. And that's a hard statement, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying that.
Yeah.
But show me.
And how did you get comfortable with it? Did you grow up with one in your ear?
No, I did not. It became like when you get on a stadium tour, you're playing to 30,000 people, and you're in a box, and your snare drum that sounds like louder than God in here sounds like a teacup in an arena.
Yeah.
And you got, you can't feel the bass player because he's in 2 counties over.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that brings you guys together.
Yes.
And then, so that's for live, but also doing so many studio sessions. I've done everything from, of course, records to soundtracks and a lot of jingles. And those guys are going to want that on a grid. Of course, today I'll fly drum tracks to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And what tempo is it? Oh, it's at 107. Okay, cool. Here it is.
Yeah.
And there's no argument. There's no time for me a producer is going to go, here's the tempo.
Yeah.
Because the vocal goes ba-da-da-da or whatever. And you're not the deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a choice. I have to. I had to get with it.
Yeah.
You have to get with it. And now it's a part of my DNA. It's like, listen, if you go to Nashville and go to an audition without the click track, when you walk in, you might as well have left your sticks and snare drum.
Yeah.
They would rather you, well, we got sticks and snare drums, but you better have that damn click track.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because, and it's an argument seller. It just tells you where it's at. And you learn to feel to get with it. Because there's so many times I just lose it in my mix.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, crap, it's off. No, I'm right on it.
Yeah. And so it doesn't even intrude on what I'm playing. I'm so in.
And another thing is, tip that I like to give other drummers is subdivide it. Don't have it tick, 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 and don't have it go tick, 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 tick. If we don't know where one is, we got other problems.
Yeah.
I hate the accent. I like to subdivide it where it's there's the quarter,
Yeah.
but then you have a space.
Yeah.
One of our encore songs right now is in like a swing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
So you pick something that's innately gonna groove with you harder than beep, beep, beep.
yeah, make it easier. And
Yeah.
if you have the capabilities now, the Tama Rhythm Watch does not have different sounds. It has a high pitch, a low pitch, and then it has volume knobs for every quarter note, eighth note, 16th, dotted, and you can adjust those volumes to make it go tick or tick 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 tick.
Yeah.
Or you can whatever.
That right there sounds like 8 hours of your life on a bus in the middle of nowhere, just like listening to your metronome and trying to make this thing groove.
Oh no, I just you look over it. I've been doing it so long, I don't even have to look at it. I know which ones.
Yeah, but the day you learn it,
if you have the capabilities, I highly suggest, and especially in the studio, using a shaker for the subdivided notes, and like a light cowbell or a wood block for the quarters.
And so you're saying make a loop that's on your drum pad. You're using a Roland, auto sign it loops, and then you groove to that.
Well, like a shaker, because a shaker will take up more of the notes, the space between the quarters, like. If you can't get on with that,
Yeah,
and that's a little bit more romantic than tick 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 tick.
that's a great way of putting it. It's definitely more romantic, and also like you were saying, like what you hear, you're interacting with. One of those feels stale to interact with, and the other one feels.
I've always treated it as a percussionist.
Yeah, it's constructive like a percussionist would be, and then I guess there's a state of growth too. Of now there's this thing in my ear that I'm grooving to, but I know to get them to groove to it, I need to replace it. I need to inhabit it. So if you start to love that in-between shaker tone, how are you going to give that to the people? Are you going to put that on your ride, or what are you going to do in that?
Yeah. For me, it depends if everybody's listening to it or if it's just the drummer.
Yeah.
Because at that point, are you listening to just a click? And if you don't have the click, are you listening to me? Mm-hmm. I've had another band member go, "Hey man, that song you were rushing." I'm like, "I wasn't. You were dragging because you don't have the click. There's no way." Like,
Yeah.
And everybody else is like, "We were listening to the click. He's on it." But his interpretation was, I was rushing. I'm like, "No, you were falling behind." Mm-hmm. And you're like, "Hey, you guys are speeding up." I'm like, "No, we're in the car, dude."
Yeah.
Like you jumped out.
Yeah.
Well,
and a great argument solver in the fact that if you didn't use this, you didn't participate in the argument. And to not participate in the argument, it starts to show a level of disconnect in a band. Like those are good conversations to have.
You also have people who aren't in the music business. Like, again, the people that confuse tracks with a click. Mm-hmm. You have those who are like, "Oh, you're cheating." I've had comments that, because I write down my tempos on the snare drum or on the timbale.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing a outdoor gig, that sheet doesn't blow away, and they'll see like a professional photographer from a magazine or somebody will come over and click a picture, and it'll be on the internet the next day, and like, "Oh, what's on your snare drum? Oh, you're cheating." I'm like, let me ask you something. Does that BMW have a gas gauge? Does it have a speedometer?
Yeah.
Does it have, can you tell when your oil's going down? I'm like, no, man, it's a part of it, and people don't realize that. People think you just get up and play.
Do you write that shit on your snare drum? Did I see that right? Just with a Sharpie?
Yeah.
First day of the run, or do you wait till like 2 shows in where things are definite?
All right, so I just
You're scratching
the
shit
artist
up?
that I'm with right now. I just joined them. I got called September 27th.
Damn.
The 28th, I was in a rehearsal studio, or I was auditioning. The 29th, we rehearsed, and the 30th was my first show. So I was given, here's the tempos. But then at rehearsal, I noticed, hey, man, that feels a little, rushed, or it feels a little draggy. Okay. It's at 121 right now. Where do you want it? Take it to 122. Let's see how that feels. And then because I got a question, did the other drummer drop it from 121 to 120 at some point, or did he take it to 122 and they got used to that and nobody wrote it down?
Yeah.
So I figure that out. I let that all move around, and then I write it down.
Yeah. Do you take that information back to an artist? Like, that's a really interesting thing. There's a lot of times where there's someone like yourself that is stepping in for a specific run, for a specific reason, maybe for a more permanent slot, but you are you're evolving on the job where the last person let off. And some of that information is really helpful to band leaders, knowing that they may need to have someone else next week. So when you do that work, do you feel like that work goes back to the artist? Or is that just saying, like, okay, I'll make a mental note. I don't need to, it's not like I need to tell this guy to update his click times on the way out. That's a problem for the next guy.
Well, a group that I started, that I put years and years of work in, and there's a lot of factors going into it. I want to get into it here.
Yeah.
But unceremoniously, that gig ended. And I guess it was going to have to anyway. But I still reached out to that new drummer. I ain't got no beef with him. I'm going to go. I said, hey, here, let me know if you need the tempos, because I've got them all written down, and I know the record, because I recorded the record. This one was at 97, and this one was at 104. But now this one's at 105, and now that one's at 92. And on the lead part on this one, this guy's going to rush a little bit, and da-da-da-da-da. So watch that.
Yeah.
I was giving him pointers. It's only the right thing to do.
Yeah. That's a beautiful sentiment, just to have that kind of graciousness, knowing that you love the material and you love what it does for people, unrelated to folks that you may disagree with.
Well, yeah. So, for an artist that I'm working with now, or the type of artist that I'm working with now, I don't need to bore them with, oh, by the way, this one's at 121, not 120.
Yeah.
They're not writing it down, and they don't care.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're assholes about it or anything. It's just like, whatever.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
But whenever the time comes that I do leave this gig, or if it ever, whenever that may be, I will go, hey, here's what we've been doing. Number one, it's professional. Number two, it's just the right thing to do. I mean, just to go here, I don't want to see anybody fail. I don't want to set up for anybody to go fall on their butt or whatever. Or, I know people that would give them wrong tempos.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know
exactly.
them. I've at my age, I've learned to get rid of those people, and just, it's okay to cut people off and go, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. Or you become with what you're surrounded with, or what you surround yourself by. So at the end of the day, you just got to think, do the right thing, and that will never hurt you.
Absolutely.
Anything else will.
Yeah. Well, do you find that sort of that mantra of good faith, of good practice, of trying to be thorough and being the best version of yourself, do you find you got that from Nashville or your personal upbringing?
I didn't get it from Nashville.
Really? Is that not the?
I mean, it's what they say to do. It's a professional thing to do, and yeah, I guess I did kind of, but I mean, it more or less comes from my upbringing.
Yeah.
And who I am. I couldn't intentionally hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want everybody to get theirs. That's who I am. I want everybody to succeed. I see these. I saw one last night. There was some kid on a drummer's page playing a Nazareth song or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's him and a guitar player. And it's the adolescent shows. They're overplaying, they're speeding up, they're slowing down, the groove's gone. But the only thing I have to comment is, great job, guys. Keep going, don't stop.
Yeah.
And you see, for every comment that I comment like that, you see 90 other ones. Oh, you guys suck. You need to practice. You shouldn't have recorded that and put it up on, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't know that person. You don't know if they're capable of handling a comment. When you get into this business and you get to any kind of level, you have to have thick skin. We don't know the mentality of that person. Either say something nice or fuck off.
Yeah.
Seriously, we didn't ask for your opinion, Bob.
Dude, that might be the best bumper sticker. Like, you can retire on that. Say something nice or fuck off.
A friend of mine, Sean Mayer, had shirts that said "Be nice, you fucker," and I lost my shirt, and I need to get it back.
Well, touching on, you started the show kind of talking about, like, the way that when someone asks you for advice, you give it to them the best and most forward and almost blunt way that you can. Because in this industry, good mentors and good advice are sometimes hard to find, when the world gets sugar-coated.
Yeah, so I do want to do the best thing all the time. And I don't want... I got a buddy of mine who, hey, kid, you want to be in the music business? Hey, go marry a woman and make $1 million, and then get back to me and tell me how you're doing.
Yeah.
Or give it up, kid. This thing sucks. It's always negative, or always not negative, but it's in a funny way. But it's now for me, for the longest time, I've tried to be, oh man, you sound great. Oh dude, man, you're great. Just whatever, blah blah blah. Mm. And then 20 years later, I go. People ask me, how do you do what you're doing? I'm like, there's no place to go do it. Just do what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, and it will come. Whatever it is. Because I never thought I was going to be the drummer for the Bellamy Brothers. I never sought out for that. I sought out for other things. But here I am, and this is what I'm doing. I'm happy. So just keep doing what you're doing, and it'll come. Now, when it comes to some drummers or somebody asking me, hey, man, I want to, what do I do? And I go, okay, look. And I'm never going to go, dude, you suck. But I go, all right, you're not ready yet. Here's what you need to do. And I'll give them do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
And concentrate on this. And then they either accept that advice or they don't. And talking about being blunt is I just go, hey, you're crashing too much. Oh man, you need to get me on a big gig. Okay, cool. Here's how it does.
Yeah.
Lose those crashes, lose those fills, and worry about the 1 and 3 and the 2 and 4. And oh man, I don't want to do that. I'm like, you're gonna get fired before you even get on the bus.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you respect me enough in thinking I'm somebody to ask, and when I give you the answer, you don't take it. I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, go get a job at McDonald's because that's where you're going to end up.
Yeah. In some ways, you didn't really ask. Like, that kind of gives me a visual of, we're going to talk about your playing, but because it's you and I talking about your playing, we need to agree that this is the objective. This is what you're doing. This is what I'm seeing. And I'm not talking bad about you. I'm saying this part of your performance is going to not allow you to do the job that I'm going to help you get, and I'm not going to watch you fall on your face.
Somebody comes up to me and says, hey, David, how do I become a plumber? I'm going, well, do you have the conduit? Do you have the tools? Well, no. I just need a job being a plumber. What they're asking is, do you know somebody that's going to pay me to come over to their house and half-ass work on their plumbing? Or are you asking, how do I get the tools? What do I do? There's two different questions. What is the answer that you want? Because I know a lot of people and drummers especially that are waiting for the dream gig. The dream gig never comes. Never. Because if you ask, again, another friend I'm not going to name, they're pretty famous and they're very well known for a certain gig. They didn't like it. It was just a money gig for them. They had other things that they loved to do, but that you could always tell it was like, going to work. And to us, it's a dream gig, but to him, it wasn't. The dream gig never comes. You got to analyze what is the dream. What is it that really makes you happy? Is it Are you just wanting to be in a magazine? Are you just wanting to be famous? Are you just wanting to be on a podcast? Are you just wanting to what is it? What do you really want?
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine asked me about his kid, like, oh, my kid's been doing this for so long and not getting anywhere. What do you think our next move is? And I was like, just keep going. I'm like, do you want to be a Revlon model? Like, or do you want to be a singer? And do you want to be a musician? Call Applebee's. They're hiring an acoustic player for Thursday. Go do that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be, oh, Taylor Swift needs an opening act and it pays $3 million. That ain't coming.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and I wanted to, you touched on so many great things there. It's like, one, the acceptance of, like, if you're doing it, you're doing it. You know, like, that's one of my favorite things that me and my drummer Nick say to each other at the end of a shitty gig or a great gig, regardless, like, we're doing it, you know, fuck it. You know, that's the only answer here.
If you got levels in your head, get them out.
But, you know, there's some of these guys that I definitely know that, you know, you're playing with some individuals that are not only high profile, but at some points they were doing the top thing. You were talking about the people in the top 10 that were seeing a different side of it, and now that they're looking at the farewell tours, they're not satisfied anymore. They have a different itch to scratch, and you wonder how people deal with redefining what happiness means at that point.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself that at some point. You have to go, really, like, is what I'm doing right now challenging? Not for me, but it might be for somebody else. But we've all went through what we got through to get to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got picked for the gigs I get picked for is because I went, through those things. We're now moving in a direction that for somebody else could be boring, but for somebody else be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe man, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's just, tell me, they want to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
They and I'm like, well, it's just a gig. It's, we're playing here, now we're playing there, and whatever. And it all comes down to perception.
Yeah.
Well,
when you see guys that do it better than others, people that are, happy the first day you walk on the job, what's the difference maker to you?
When somebody walks on
when someone's happy with their gig, when someone who's doing it not only is doing it well, but they're enjoying it.
Okay. So you wake up every morning and you either go, damn, or you go, damn. See, there's a difference. You're either excited and so or you're like just miserable. And there are days I could still be excited, but I'm like, oh man, I got 2 hours sleep last night. Whatever. But it's what I call, a buddy of mine, Casey, and I call the 4 wheels. You have to have, to do this for a living, you have to have money coming in. Of course, that's the evil that we all allude to. Then the other wheel is, do I really enjoy this? Is it successful? And then you got another wheel of, is it, entertaining me? Then other wheel is it moving forward? Or is there something projected that I've never done before?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I excited about another rung on the ladder? Is this going to take me? Do I have forward movement, or is that wheel just spinning? And then another wheel would be, personal growth or whatever. You have to have at least 2 or 3 out of those 4 wheels spinning. And there's hardly an ever time, like, the only people who got all 4 wheels spinning are like the Stones,
yeah,
Aerosmith, that kind of thing. But then again, it could be somebody in their home studio that's knocking out tracks, like a Nick Buddha or somebody.
Yeah.
That, don't even get out of your underwear. Have a cup of coffee, knock out a track, and go in there and watch cartoons with your daughter. I mean, it's like that's a dream gig too, but that wouldn't satisfy me. I have to go out for each individual, but you have to have those wheels, and you got to know which ones they are. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll do this gig, but the money's not right. I'll do this gig, the money is incredible, but the artist is an asshole, and the guitar player makes life hell every day. That's only going to last so long. When you find one, the one I'm in right now, I'm extremely happy with the money, the way the artists treat everybody, the the um, the function of the machine. I'm home 3 days a week, at least, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my only wheel that's not spinning is I don't have time for my other projects right now. I don't have time for the League of Dangerous Gentlemen. I don't have time to all the time to do that.
Yeah.
I have to let that wheel set still for a little bit. But the other three wheels that are spinning for me right now are it makes sense for me right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's fascinating the way you bring up, including time off as part of the plan of what you provide to people you work with. Like that's a great thing for every band leader to note, for everyone that's trying to put a project together. Like, when are we on and when are we off? Because when we're on, I want to be on, and when we're off, I want to be off. I have other things.
Yeah, the artist that I work for right now has it down. They understand. That's why they salaried everybody. Everybody's on a salary, and they just go here, and there's no, oh hey man, can you leave tonight because we got a gig on the way to no, everything's planned out. And when you get to a city, like I haven't looked at tomorrow's day sheet yet, but I guarantee it's gonna say something like arrive at the hotel at 10:30. Bus call is gonna be around 1:30. 2 to 3:30 or 2 to 5 is set up, sound check, that kind of thing. 5:30 is going to be dinner. 7 is going to be doors. 8 o'clock show, 90 minutes. And then at the end of that 90 minutes, your gear goes back on the truck or on the trailer. You getting relaxing clothes.
Yeah.
And grab a cocktail and you're in the bus to the next city. There isn't no, well, I wonder if we're staying or not. Or I wonder if when we're going to blah, blah, blah. Or what's going to, there's a machine. There's a structure. And anything that is successful is going to have some structure to it.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to keep players, is they realize that there's got to be a structure, there's got to be a plan, and there's got to be forward momentum, not just, hey, we're just going to get in a van and go play the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
It's not like that. And success is a series of small, good, well-managed decisions. Not one big one and a bunch of bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's small decision, small. And then after you do that a couple times, and you get into that structure of making those good decisions, you're successful. Now, as to what that success is up to you, to nobody else.
Yeah.
If you're thinking I need to make $50 a day making widgets or whatever,
mm-hmm.
then if you made 49 one day and 51 the next day, you were successful. And that's to nobody else's. And that's what everybody has to let go. Like right now, if you want to be a musician for a living, you got to let it go of everybody else's opinion. All the keyboard warriors, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your sister, your brother, whoever's got an opinion, it doesn't matter unless they have something unless they are emotionally, financially, or anything otherwise invested,
mm-hmm.
then they have no opinion. So, we get off on the subject here, but it's like, just like I said, at the end of the day, just go do it. Like my buddy Troy Lucetta, he has a program called Just Show Up. He's right. 90% of any success is just showing up.
Yeah. And there's so much brilliant in like you said, the succession of good decisions. Like there's things you start to learn as you age every day, and you get more expectations for how things are going to play out. Like your expectations about how you're going to enjoy things need to be in check, and how you're going to behave to maintain your disciplines that have the trajectory you want, and to keep your four wheels spinning. It's like that's that's all a great testament to you, David Parks, the person that I know is, a guy that I step up with maybe 3 times a year. And every time we have a good time, we smile at each other, we kick it. I always end up so drunk next to you, but that's osmosis. I think you put it in your mouth and went to my head because you keep it together and I do not. I was falling off a boat last time we kicked it, but
That was scary too.
it was but
because it was slick right there, and I was wearing the Chuck Taylors.
yeah, man, there was
and
doing shit up
and
there.
it didn't feel like dew. It felt like fucking oil.
Yes.
like you hit it.
That's the Ohio
and,
River.
and dude, we are how far up and like we were
15 feet in the air.
Gosh,
and
damn it.
then you get like a sketchy.
I
pretty much rocked up.
I'm going through, like, we're playing a song. My hands are playing, but I keep looking down and I'm projecting. I'm like, I'm gonna fall backwards. I'm gonna break my neck on that thing, and then the thing that's gonna do me in is I'm gonna hit my head on the propeller, and then I'm gonna drown.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm
it's like,
standing there with my ass to you, and I'm bouncing on this thing like an idiot.
Yeah.
Once you arrived, I had a vengeance with that Jack Daniels. Like, it had to go. Like, we had to get through this. And Ricky helped a little bit, but you and me took that thing down. But you always come in, you have a good time, and you service the music. And you know what I know? It's not like that's the gig that fulfills the money itch, but 3 of the wheels are spinning. Like, you define something so that tonight can be a win.
Well, also another thing is I've been on gigs to where they're just, oh man, this load end's gonna suck, and it's not the money. None of the wheels are spinning.
Yeah,
but this is what you chose to do. Now, we can go in it with a good attitude, or we can be shitty. Well, which one's gonna be more fun? Now, and that right there will lead you in directions too, because the guy that shows up and bitches all the time, the negative Nancy guys, they don't get called back. I know a lot of those. I know some really great players that I've done one gig with, and I'm like, I'm deleting your number.
Yeah.
Or I put next to don't hire.
Yeah. Put it in the notes.
Or fuck this guy or whatever.
So when you send that contact, this guy just says like, do not hire.
I mean, why would you want to do that? I mean, like, so you got to realize real quick as a musician, there's nobody on your team. Nobody. I don't care if you're in a band. All other band members will turn their back on you. People will turn around on you and stab you in 3 seconds, maybe 1.5. Or they've already got the knife out and you don't know what's in it. I'm not kidding. Like, I've been through it, and I know people that, artists, other musicians, management, that our kids knew each other, our moms, wives, girlfriends, they all, oh man, we're family, and 2 days later, they make a decision, and even the way it goes down, there's pretty horrible people out there. So you got to realize that you are your own ambassador for your business. I don't care if you're the drummer for Bon Jovi or for a solo artist, Stevie Nicks. You're carrying you. So when you show up, what are people's opinion of you? And you can't always control that, but you can change the trajectory and handle yourself well.
Yeah.
I might not always get hired because of my drumming. I get hired because sometimes maybe that he's a good guy and he's quiet and he goes to his bunk and he doesn't piss people off and doesn't complain.
Yeah.
The other 4 drummers are way better drummers, but we're not putting up with their shit.
Yeah.
So to get further along as a musician, you can't go to Wendy's and start selling burgers and then be a dick to everybody that comes in. Nobody's going to come back.
Yeah. Well, here's a weird side of that question, but like, I've always wondered it. What's the right way for a musical breakup to happen? When someone does need to get dropped, like, what's the best way you've seen that handled by people that have to do it, unfortunately, on a more regular basis than others?
The group that and I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah,
all
no
that stuff
names,
right now,
no nothing there, but
I mean, everybody knows if you know me. The band that I just came out of that I built. I just had the guitar player text me recently, and he's probably going to watch this, but he said he texted me because he left an item at one of the tour dates, and I know the promoter really well, and he says, hey, can you have the promoter? And there's a big part of me that wants to text back and do the right thing and go, hey, here's his number. da 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 da. We talked about the right thing earlier.
Yeah.
This isn't the right thing for me. And I didn't say anything negative back to him. I just didn't respond.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, and I told, all right, so 2 of the band members, I have one of them especially, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm never going to talk to that guy again. Like, there was already animosity and things going on through the band. The other guy, I'm kind of heartbroken. Almost feels like, almost like a divorce. I can't listen to certain songs because I start getting emotional about it. I start going, oh, man, I miss that. Not only just being in the band with him, but I just miss him.
Yeah.
But when I got that text, I texted the other 2 players that I'm totally cool with that they had no decision making in anything. And I said, this is like being pushed off a bridge that I built. And then once I splat on the bottom, you hear from up top, hey, man, you got my lighter. Can you bring that back? What now? Now, do I yell back, fuck you? Or do I just not respond?
No, you throw him a wet lighter.
No, you just, okay. But, no, you just,
painful,
what I'm saying is like, it is painful. It's like, our record came up on Spotify the other day and I skipped it because I just can't listen to it. It's like, oh, that was me and Debbie's song at our wedding. I can't listen to it. It's too painful right now.
Yeah.
And 2 of the members I talk to daily. One of them I want to talk to, and there's one that I'm like, you're the cutoff guy. I'm never going to talk to you again.
Yeah.
And if you listen to, for anybody to go read a book, Steve Gorman, Life and Death of the Black Crowes. Excellent book. And he tells these stories, and it's almost you could copy and paste the same thing that I'm saying right now. It's not the stories for me, it's how he handled it. He didn't go get vengeful. He didn't get in the press and start slinging mud. He goes, I'm not writing this book to tell everybody to fuck you that screwed me over. I'm just telling my story.
Yeah.
And you may have a different version of your story, but I'm just telling my story. And just like that story just now, that just happened 2 weeks ago. That's a fresh wound with me. Mm-hmm. The fact that I got the text, you break up with the chick and you really love her and you're like, man, maybe we could get back together. No, it was bad for me. It was toxic. It was a bad thing. I'm glad it's over. But then she texts you.
Woo!
And you get that rumble gut and you get, oh man, oh fuck, and you're just like, ah.
Yeah.
And so it's that situation. But back to my point is to be a professional musician for a living, you have to be your own entity.
Mm-hmm. But when in that, like, I feel like it's very different when you step up to bat as a band. When we agree that we are 4 musical parts, writing and creating and being together, however many pieces we're in a band, it's like everyone has equal stake in that. Versus solo artists, there's a little bit of a different diction, but still, if someone calls you family, you want to feel like family.
Yeah, well,
so if someone's going to cut it off, what's the appropriate way that someone comes about bad news in this industry?
Oh, I mean, everybody knows the right way, but do they do it? No.
Well,
because people get. There are people in this world right now, and there are very few of them. I got one of my best friends named John. He'll tell you, I'll talk to anybody about anything at any time, and he will never raise his voice. He can have an argument with you and talk at a civil tone and never get hot-headed. I've never seen the man upset. That's the way to do it. I can tell you bluntly everything that I need to say to you, but I'm going to do it right here, not at a screaming match.
Yeah.
And be an adult about it. And I think that comes with time, experience, lots of experience. Because, you go take a toy from a kid, even though the toy might hurt him, he doesn't know that. He just knows you're taking a toy. What is that kid going to do? Going to cry. Going to throw a shit fit right there and start being upset. Well, that's what a child does. An adult is supposed to go, okay, and have some kind of reasoning, but that ain't always there, and that's not always going to be there. But you got to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah.
That this guy that's got his arm around me in a band photo and telling everybody that I'm the most genius thing in the world is, you know, you got to take the good compliments with the bad ones too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
You got to, like, I've had somebody come up and go, "Oh man, you're like the greatest drummer I've ever seen." Blah blah blah. Man, you're so entertaining to watch. Blah 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 blah. And I just go, "Yeah, cool, thank you." I don't accept that, because in my mind I go, "What do you know? You don't even know what a drummer. You never heard Vinnie Colaiuta? You never heard of Pat Torpey? Those are good drummers. I'm not a good drummer. Those are great drummers. So you don't know anything. So that doesn't matter."
Yeah. Well, it's almost better to hear that I enjoyed your show
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
stroke my hair and back, as some weird stranger with your ideas of what your expectation of me should be. It's a very valid point. But what do you want me to get out of that? Like, man, watching you made me want to go do it. And then you say you're already doing that. And then they have that realization, like, you can turn the lights on for somebody. You can make it click in those moments if it goes well.
Yeah. And sure, and I love that, and I always enjoy that. But it's you have to what's the word I'm trying to use? Compartmentalize.
Yes.
Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
So, like, back to your question about the correct way. There is a correct way, and I think we all saw that coming. I think we all saw it. I mean, I knew a year ago. I just knew the time was ticking at that point. Now, when we got on stage, there was still fire. It's like, when you're with your girl and you're toxic and you're not good for each other, but the sex is great.
Exactly. It's like, what are you here to do? You know? You still do that.
But then you go make soup together and you're fighting. It's like, what the fuck? So, it's getting that to that point, like you said, with the band members. You're creating fire on stage, and there's a thing that no other. You remove one person from the outfit, and it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, but what's the proper way to end a relationship where you can't make soup together? There is a what should be, but it never is.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of emotion at the time.
Yeah. Well, I think, sometimes bands forecast that. Sometimes you have relationships where, like, someone just doesn't get a call back, and that kind of sends the message. But, at some point, when you talk about, not to add too much bravado to it, but just like, you talking to me in that kind of way, like, to be a man about it, I should tell you the truth of why you're going, and that you're going, in a for sure way, shake your hand and walk away, and then it's just a clean break.
And like, when a man and woman get divorced, even though they're splitting, there's still business to be handled.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a structure to tearing it down.
Yeah.
In my divorce, after the divorce, my ex-wife asked me, "What are you thinking right now?" I said, "What am I thinking? 8 years to build it up, 8 seconds to knock it down." So, in a band situation, it took a lot of years to build it up. 3 years to build up, 3 seconds to knock it down, let's say, in this particular situation. And there's a lot of emotion, a lot of animosity. But there's still business to be handled.
Yeah.
I'm still on the record. There's still drum tracks that they're going to release. Nobody's on that fence on their side has been man enough to go, "Hey, we're going to use your drum tracks for the next single because it's already recorded. What do we need to do to work that out with you on paper?" That's never been discussed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be discussed. I'm going to wake up one day and they're going to have a new single out, and it's either going to be my drum tracks, which I'm cool with because I'm proud of, but we need to still have that conversation, or they're going to replace the drum tracks, and we still need to have that conversation. But they run from conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of people, they'll artists, for example, an artist that I worked for 10, 15 years ago would fire a guy that they just hugged on the bus, let him get in his car, drive back to his home state, only for Monday morning the manager to call him and go, "Hey, you're being let go." Like, come on, man, you just hugged the guy yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, what,
Well,
so it's the flip thing.
yeah. Well, and sometimes you hire someone to be the bearer of bad news, but you have to have some kind of personal understanding in that. Like that's very difficult.
Okay, cool. You're gonna hire that guy to chop my head off? I'm fine with that. Don't hug me.
Yes, exactly. Don't.
That's a two-faced. Don't tell me you love me one day and then tell me,
Yeah.
piss off the next.
Exactly. You need to have some kind of, in the same way that I was thinking this early in the interview, and I don't know why, but like a drummer is, they're very involved in the present, but they forecast sections a little more intentionally than the rest of us. We have a progression to follow versus you have a dynamic to follow.
Musically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you descend in a relationship, if things are at that point, can you at least forecast that an end is near in the way that you treat somebody? If you normally hug them, give them a handshake and say thanks for what you've done. There are ways of.
Yeah, I used to be, and I hug everybody. I hug the devil. But I was dumb. I was young and dumb. Now, I have, like, there's an artist I used to work for right now that if we play a show with them, I'm staying on the bus. Like I don't want to see you because I know they're gonna go, "Hey man, what's up, Dave? How's the kid?" They're gonna act like we're friends, and I'm like, you don't remember all the horrible shit you've done and said to everybody you've been around. I need to protect my mental health and sanity. I can't let this place get trashy.
Yeah.
The shit needs to go in the toilet. Trash needs to go in the trash can. The dishes need to go in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're dishes or whatever, but you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I need to protect my personal habitat.
Because you know why?
My sanity.
You want to know why? Because I'm the only one doing it.
Facts.
I'm the only one protecting me. And everybody else can say, "Oh, well, horseshit." When it comes down to bare bones, I've got a lot of friends, but I've got like maybe 5 that I would take a bullet for, or they would for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're saying that setting up the thing, musically, I love that because, yeah, I have to think about, we're going to the lead now. I'm very conscious of where not to crash, where to crash. You don't have to crash on every one. You don't have to, and I don't have to do a fill every time to set up. My favorite drum fill is on the 4. Boom, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. You see, that was so you don't have to set, even though it's coming. You don't have to set it up.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You're prepared for the one, but you don't have to set it up. Sometimes you just let it crumble, or go to the lead. And I'm talking in metaphor right now between music and being a musician and the relationships that we have. Back to the Steve Gorman book. I would try to take a page from it. And I refer back to that because I'm referring to him because of what he said of referring to somebody else. He told the guys in the Black Crowes at one point, he said, "Hey guys, all of our idols, here's where they fucked up. Here's where they messed up over time. This is what did them in. We're doing that." They didn't have anybody to look at. Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath and Humble Pie, they didn't have any predecessors to look at and go, "Oh, this is where they screwed up. Maybe we shouldn't do those things." And he's like, we're literally following their failures. Don't do that. So as a drummer, as a band member, as a hired gun, I have to look at Kenny Aronoff. What is his attitude? How does he proceed to get all the gigs that there's my goal. I want to do what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is he doing? And if I look at somebody who's failed a lot, I go, what did he do to fail? Okay, don't do these things, do those things. That's where you start, right? And being a band member, hired gun, or whatever you want to, categorize anything with, you just choose wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's so simple.
And we got some jamming to do. So
Yeah.
I would love to wrap this up with a stroke of brilliance I think you had at the beginning of a succession of good choices, continually and doing the right thing. It's small choices leading up to that.
And structure. People forget the music business is a business. You have to remember that.
Amen.
And there's going to be emotion in there, but as long as you keep it right there. I mean, and of course, everybody's story is going to be different. So,
yeah. Well, David motherfucking Parks, I love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Ain't he sweet? Ain't he beautiful? And doesn't he have a lot to say? David motherfucking Parks, everybody. All right, without further ado, here come the dates. This week, I am going to be, scrolling up. Too far. There we go. Wednesday through Friday, I'm going to be at the Tin Roof Del Rey making my debut. The show times, Wednesday is going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. Thursday is 4 to 6. Friday will be 4 to 6 as well. This Saturday night, I got a private party back in the Natty. Sunday, every single Sunday night, find me at Fishbowl at the Banks. Monday, we got the first edition of the Monday's Muse over at Little Miami Brewing Company. This month is going to feature Megan Wren as my featured act, Max Gears, Tommy Lee, and Mila. Oh, I'm forgetting Mila's last name. But all in our songwriter round, it will be beautiful. Make sure you stop by. We're also going to have our regular edition of the Muse on the 19th at Latitudes Bar and Bistro. Thursday the 15th, I'm playing the Crooner Circus with the Takeover, bringing my friends in because my man Noah Smith's going to be out of town. I hope to see you there. The 16th, Friday the 16th, I am at the pub Rookwood. The 17th, me and the trio are going to be making our debut at Carlo and Johnny's. Come and see us. And then Sundays, you know where to find me. That's the good news, everybody. I got to go. I got a 4:30 flight in the morning, so I'm peacing. Love you.